pulling out all the experts. Now there's supposed to be something going on with the phone. We're going to get to the bottom of it. I'm Jay Lava. I scour the internet so that you don't have to. And I brought the interview to your front door. So come on in. Let's get on into it because it's a big deal. You understand what I'm saying? Let's go. Oh, I hear them notifications, baby. Yeah, let's do it. I hear them.
Don't know the truth yet, but we will.
We have had multiple witnesses reach out to us, two confirmed witnesses that saw Nolan Wells on the island around 6 p.m. on July 4th, well after the Triton, as you said, left around 4:30. And so those witnesses have went to investigators, they've talked to the police, and they've done what they're supposed to do. These witnesses know Nolan. They've known him for a long time. They were able to make a positive ID. And they told that to investigators. They told them that from the very start.
What witnesses? Where? Who, what, where, why, and when? That is a renowned trial lawyer named Tyler Cox, and he is representing the acquaintances of Nolan's that took him to Horn Island on their boat, the Triton. Curious, we've seen, hey, let's pull up that video control room of everyone getting on the boat before they went to Horn Island. It's very interesting, evidentiarily. Okay, here we go. This is from the Officer Tatum show, and you're
What
about to
up?
see people. There they are down at the right. And there's actual video of people see the boat at about 1 o'clock. Oh, there we go. Excellent shot, guys. People are getting on, people getting off. And it keeps going to where you see everybody that got on the boat. But here's my big question tonight, before I can even get to the alleged witnesses that Tyler Cox is telling us about. Dave Mack, joining me, Crime Stories investigative reporter. Can I see the video again, please? Dave Mack, I'm seeing everybody preparing the Triton to go out, preparing to go out. In this shot, they're down at about 3 o'clock. Okay, keep looking. 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And then suddenly you switch to a different camera. There you go. That's the boat. So, Dave Mack, where is the evidence? Where is the video of the boat? Is that Nolan right there? Walking along the light blue shorts, and he at that time out on a white shirt. I think that's Nolan right there. Dave Mack, where is the evidence, the video evidence of them coming back?
Nancy, we have not seen evidence of them coming back. Remember, 3 boats caravanned out to the island, and then we have different stories about when they arrived back on the mainland. But we don't have video of any of them.
So we don't
showing
have
back
that
up.
video.
Correct.
Okay, let's circle back to the alleged witnesses that. He's a great trial lawyer, by the way. Wins a lot of cases. It's Tyler Cox. He's representing the acquaintances that went to Horn Island with Nolan. And I've got to get to the phone torpedo, but he's not the only one that says they have witnesses. Listen.
These 2 witnesses, 2 very reliable, very credible, and very upstanding members of the community, they saw Nolan, and they've known Nolan for years. There's no chance that they made a mistake. And by the way, this can be corroborated through other evidence, other eyewitness accounts. And that's the end of it right there.
That's from the Officer Tatum show. Susan Hendricks joining me, veteran investigative
Melinda,
journalist,
what
all the way
up?
down the hill of my descent into the double murder in Delphi.
LA.
Witnesses. I understand that there's video and witnesses. One places him there at 5, one places him there at 6. Significance, the Triton, and we can show this by GPS. They are right about this, left Horn Island around 4:30. So if he is spotted, and you can confirm to me that he is spotted there at 5 or 6, that video has a timestamp on
Right.
it, and I can corroborate that, or I can corroborate the witnesses weren't drunk. Hey, let's see that video control room again of Nolan bent over, and all you can see is his blue trunk right there. Now, that's not a very good eyewitness right there, okay? Do I think that's him? Yeah, I do. I do think that's Nolan. But I would tear that up in court. Tear it to shreds. There's all sorts of, you know what? Hold on, Susan Hendricks. Greg Morse joining me, veteran trial lawyer, founder of Morse Legal. He's in the Southern District of Florida, former West Palm Beach public defender, and author of The Untested. Greg, in Florida, as in Georgia, as in this jurisdiction of Mississippi, the code, the official code of Mississippi, annotated, lays out how you establish or cross-examine, same thing, same criteria, an eyewitness, such as, I memorized them. How far were you away from the witness? From the target. What was the lighting? Do you wear glasses? Were you wearing them that night? Were you inebriated? Had you smoked pot? How can you prove that to me? Did anything obstruct your view? Was it daytime or nighttime? What time of the day was it?
Byron, what up?
You go on and on and on. You can rattle them off, right? I know you can. So
Absolutely.
how do I know the eyewitness can't identify anything except the back of his legs, like in that video?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, there's no details about any identification. It's just a broad statement that other people saw Nolan after the boat left. The video you just showed shows from a view from behind of someone bending over. Did the person have sunglasses on? Were they familiar with who they were actually looking at and identifying? You know, how much had they drank during the day? It was a party scene. That's what usually these boat spots are. There's one by me in West Palm Beach, very similar setup called Peanut Island. So most people also, right, they don't think something's important until after the fact. They're just going about their day, notice people walking by. So from what you showed, that's not a very strong identification from that position, but there's no details.
While I've got you, Greg Morris, let me throw another question at you. And look, I'm not wearing a prosecution or a defense hat. As you know, I'm a crime victim. I would say I'm coming at it from that angle. But I was very disturbed, Greg, when I got wind that there is no criminal investigation. It's been said over and over and over. Why not? We don't know how he died.
Right.
For instance, if he did have water in his lungs, okay, maybe he did drown. But how did he get in the water? Did he fall in the water? Was somebody, wrestling with him in the water and they held him down? They went, oh my stars, I killed him and left? Did he hit his head? There's a lot more to it than saying, oh yeah, he drowned. How can someone state there is no criminal investigation? I understand a grand jury is about to be convened. That doesn't mean there's a crime, but doesn't that suggest to you a grand jury inside the Superior Courthouse, inside the district attorney's office, would suggest there is a criminal investigation?
Well, it would potentially lead someone to believe that, yeah, a criminal investigation was undergoing. However, when we look at how this has played out over the last 6 weeks, how law enforcement has acted, they haven't seized Nolan Wells' phone at this point. In a criminal investigation, law enforcement's going to use those tools to get this information. So this could just be a drowning. I'm sitting down, and this could just be a drowning. And that's why they're looking at it that way, because nothing's told them it's but everything's not a crime. It doesn't have to be investigated as a crime.
You're still talking. We've already established that. Here's the other, you know what? I'm going to let you think about what you just said. I'm going to go to Jeff Shetler joining us. Guys, this is a special guest joining us out of Edisto Island, South Carolina. Former police K-9 handler, author of 5 books. Last one, 2 weeks to operational tracking. I like this one, Red Dog Rising, K-9 trailing, the straightest path, tactical tracker teams, the Tao of trailing. He is at gak9.com. Question, I get this a lot from the viewers, so you can put it to rest. How long does a person have to be dead before a cadaver dog will pick up on that scent?
Well, honestly, a dog's going to pick up on the live or dead scent as soon as they're out there. So the time frame, from hours to a day or so is really not a big deal. It doesn't matter what type of dog you have that's looking for humans. Within that first 24 hours, either type of dog, a live find or a deceased person dog, is going to be viable. They're going to pick up on anything that's there. The big issue that we have here is primarily the contamination. After the fact, if the dog was placed at the scene initially to search for
BATL, what's up?
Then the chances are the success rate would actually be pretty good. The island is very, very small. There's not a lot of hiding places. There's not a lot of places you could go. On the other hand, inside the water might be a different story. We have tide issues and everything else that are occurring there.
So you bring in a scent dog. I would assume you bring in a scent dog first. But the issue with that, in my mind, probatively, like what can I use? How can I use that in trial? What's it going to prove for me? I already know Nolan was on the boat to start with. So, of course, the dog is going to pick up Nolan's scent on the boat. That's not hard to figure out. So I know a scent dog is going to pick up on that. But a cadaver dog, what should have been done immediately with a cadaver dog? And I'm putting this out there not to say woulda, coulda, shoulda. Maybe it happened and we haven't been informed. The press, the media, has no right to information in an ongoing investigation. So This may have been done and we haven't been told. I can only pray. So, regarding a cadaver dog, what should have been done, Jeff Shetler, and how should it have been done, and when should it have been done?
Lock down the location. Don't let anybody on there. Get the dogs in. See what type of reaction they have. Every second that goes by, every minute that goes by, every hour that goes by will have an impact on the dog work when it comes to age of the material, age of the odor, and more importantly, what your contamination
Purple
factor is. And this
flower.
is the one big thing that nobody ever really thinks about. They think the dogs are going to be these magical creatures that detect everything that you're looking for. But that's going to be mitigated dramatically by any
Straight
type
up
of human
true.
activity on the scene. That's the first thing that has to happen. So if you're going to use dogs, you need to get them out there right away. They actually have to be one of the first things on scene.
Hi guys, Nancy Grace here. If you are a homeowner, you probably thought, should I call American Fire? And good luck. Straight out to Joseph Scott Morgan, professor of forensics, Jacksonville State University. You can find his hit YouTube show, Body Bags with Joe Scott Morgan. But most important, he is a death investigator with over 10,000 death scenes under his belt. Isn't it true, Joe Scott, that a cadaver dog, aka a human remains detection dog, can absolutely detect the scent of a dead person as early as 45 minutes to 3 hours after the death because of the cellular breakdown and organic compounds? Could you translate what I just said, which I've said in court before, into regular people talk?
Yeah, so our building blocks are cells, and so the cells begin to break down. And you're right. People don't understand that human decomposition literally begins at a cellular level the moment we're gone, okay? So the two compounds that you're looking for here when it comes to cadaver searches utilizing canine assets are putrescine and cadaverine, or cadaverine as well. And what they are, they're an organic compound that combine as a result of the cellular breakdown, and it gives off a particular odor. Now, to what Jeff was saying just a moment ago, if there is some type of, let's just say, blood evidence, all right, on the boat, that I pray this boat was locked down quickly. If there's a point of impact, say, for instance, on a railing, any of the gunnels in there, those areas in there, and you have blood deposition, guess what happens, Nancy? That blood begins to break down, just like a body does, okay? So you'll have the scent that is there, and it is wholly different than tracking a human, all right? Now, where else would you find it? Well, we know that Nolan's remains are allegedly found on the shore, right? They're allegedly right there. Now, we also know, and remember what the second autopsy said, he's in an advanced state of decomposition at this point in time. So the trick is here trying to
That's when he's found on the beach. Hold on.
Exactly.
Joe Scott, that's when he's found on the beach. But my understanding, of course, I'm just a trial lawyer. I'm not a canine expert like Jeff Shetler is, but within minutes to hours, within minutes, dogs can pick up on the scent of human decomp. It starts almost immediately, and the dog can smell that.
You can say within 45 minutes, but I have to tell you, there is a lot of variability here, dependent upon a lot of environmental conditions, even the individual that is decomposing. That's going to play into it. So that's not a static number. It's a bracketed number. So you don't know how long it's going to take for this to actually begin to develop.
We also know that well-trained dogs, like Jeff Shetler works with, can still hit on decomp, even microscopic particles in soil, long after the body has been removed, sometimes years or even decades
Ain't no
later,
typing in all
depending
caps
on
in
the
the chat,
condition.
fam.
But as Shetler just pointed out, in these
I'm
conditions,
the only one that
where
get to
the
type in all
surface of the boat
caps.
is exposed to.
Calm that down, fam. All right? Just calm that down. You get me? Just say what you got to say. And let that be that. Thank you.
Water, to wind, to contamination, not so much. I'm going to circle back to Jeff in just a moment regarding any possibility of tracking human decomp or human scent on Horn Island. The thing is, we know he was there, so we know the dogs will hit on him being there alive, but what about dead? I also want to clear something else up, and this is really important. Greg Morse, These acquaintances that went out on the beach, I'm not razor locked on them. I'm looking at them. I'm looking at everybody. Who are these two witnesses? If they are telling the truth that Nolan Wells was on Horn Island at either 5 or 6 o'clock, then the acquaintances on the Triton are in the clear, because Morse, I know based on their GPS what time they left the island. So
Well,
we have to keep our minds open as to what, who, what, where, why, the whole shebang. We can't lock in on those acquaintances if they had already left and he's still on the island. Is that true? I don't know. But it could be, right? Many an investigation has failed because the prosecutor did not keep their mind open as to potential suspects, right?
well, that's 100% right. You know, the police have to keep an open mind here. It's not even a criminal investigation. So 6 weeks approximately has gone by. The folks that were on the boat with Nolan, nothing has come out even remotely to indicate they were involved in some foul play at this point at all. They're just people that went out to this island with their friend. It appears their friend may have stayed afterwards, and maybe a tragedy happened, maybe something else happened that wasn't involving them.
A tragedy
But
did happen.
6
Nolan Wells
weeks,
is dead, and I'm going to find out how. But I tell you
sure.
what,
But you're talking
I
about
am
6
curious
weeks.
about
This is
why no
this is
polygraphs have been
isolated.
taken. I'm just
Why?
very curious.
But why?
Many
Why?
defense
For
lawyers
what?
wouldn't dream of letting their
They're
clients
not
have charges.
suspects.
Let me get to the
But
phone.
Nancy, you're turning
Oh, dear Lord.
what's not
Of
a
course they're
criminal
not suspects. You said
investigation
that
and
to
want the
attorney. You're
trappings
wasting
of
my
one.
time. Stop it.
But when you talk about
I see
polygraph,
his lips moving. He's talking here. Okay, yeah, just keep him just like that. Yeah, that's the way I like Morse. Don't hurt your head, Morse. Don't hurt your head. Okay. Susan Hendricks. Oh, my stars, Hendricks. The family is now seemingly being accused of
I already
wrongdoing.
got him all. I got him up out
because
of
they
here already.
haven't
Don't worry about
handed
it.
the phone over yet. What happened back on, I've got a big note here, phone July 15. Isn't that when the family had a meeting and said, yes, you can have the phone, but they want independent examiners there at the same time, right? Tell me July 15, what happened?
July 15th, the attorney for the parents of Nolan met and said, yes, we want to give over the phone, but we want someone in the middle here, someone from the outside, an expert to analyze the phone. It appeared everyone agreed. Then all of a sudden they get a letter saying, we want the phone and you have 24 hours to send it over. The DA sent that. And the parents were out of town and said, wait, we don't have the time to do that. Hence the narrative that they're not cooperating. Now they say, Nolan's parents, look, we have our experts on standby this week. Pick a day. And not to mention, on the 19th would have been Nolan's 19th birthday, a difficult week for the family, but they say, hey, we'll give up his cell phone. We want someone, a mediator, if you will, an expert in the middle.
Well, this is interesting, what you just said. Joe Scott Morgan, professor of forensics, Jacksonville State University, I've been there, and it is a world-class Crim Pro division. Whole building, whole floor is set up just to recreate scenes. I was so impressed by it. Joe Scott has worked with me on multiple recreations, intricate recreations at Jacksonville State University to try to figure out, is what the defendant is saying, does that make sense? Is what the state is saying, does that make sense? Just all sorts of things you can learn from actually recreating the scene. That said, Joe Scott, I have examined evidence myself at the crime lab. And the crime lab out on Panthersville Road is amazing, state of the art, with the defense attorney there. Mm-hmm. And I typically would not allow a defense team to examine the evidence unless I was there.
Exactly.
Do I think they're going to do something nefarious? Maybe, probably not. But I don't want them to even touch it.
Exactly.
If it could somehow, compromise the evidence. And it can. A lot of the times, even touching it can compromise the evidence. So this is not unheard of, that the family wants an independent investigator there when the phone is searched.
Yeah, you're right. And it happens. Nancy, I've actually been in autopsy suites with defense attorneys, believe it or not. All manner of people come through the labs over the years as an independent set of eyes. So let's just say that they do, in fact, have an independent individual examine this phone. And I think this question goes back to you as a prosecuting attorney. Would any kind of findings that were on that phone, would they be negated as a result of the state not doing. If you wanted to move forward as using this evidence in a criminal prosecution, perhaps, would it invalidate it since the state is not doing it? And what are you going to find? And how many hands are going to be on this phone at that given time?
Are you saying that if the defense did their own investigation of the phone and the state did not, would that negate the defense findings?
Yeah, because remember, we've got a grand jury that's going to be impaneled, allegedly.
HELLYES. Because the first thing, if the shoe was on the other foot, I would do is, isn't it true? I gave you the opportunity to review the phone. Isn't that true? On this date. And you didn't do it. So don't come complaining now. Oh, yeah, that would be a matter for cross-exam. You're on cross-examination. Who is our next sponsor? Well, here is a pro cat, Cinnamon. Joe Scott, Morse, everybody jump in if you've got a question for Scott Eicher. Let me tell you who Eicher is. Digital forensics expert, founding member of the FBI Cellular Analysis Survey Team, historical cellular analysis expert, former FBI, 22 years, former homicide, Norfolk, Virginia Police Department, works multiple cases, and currently with Precision Cellular Analysis. I could go on. Scott, tell me how this examination, I mean, you don't just pick up the phone and go, okay, I looked at it. What is a phone examination? How do I get evidence of potential snaps that were sent that day, texts, emails, photos taken during those critical hours? And important, how do I find out if anything was deleted? We've heard, yes, it's deleted. No, it wasn't deleted. The only way we're going to know is from a forensics exam. How do you do it? Now, take baby steps. Go ahead.
It's pretty easy nowadays. You get the physical phone itself. You hook it up to a device like the Cellbrite, which is one of the main producers of this type of software that can download phones. First of all, obviously, you have to have the password to the phone. If not, then you have to go through a lot of processes to get past the password and into the phone.
Right.
But once you're into the phone, and this can be done with other people standing by, as you were talking about, another investigator for the defense or for the family or something like that being there, they can sit there and watch you download the phone. And basically, once you download a copy of what's on the phone, and you're not really messing with the evidence that's on the phone, you're not changing it, you're just copying it to another computer, and then you can start going through that data. You can look at all the text messages, and it'll even let you know which ones have been deleted. Now, of course, deleted means,
Put them up, please. Put them up, please. What do you see when you're looking for deleted? Do you see like you log on and you just see all this data, X's and O's and digits, and how do I tell something's been deleted? Explain that to me. I mean, unless it's in recently deleted, but even my twins at age 3 knew how to go into my phone and find recently deleted and delete it. How do you find it?
So it's actually just, on the computer screen, you're looking at all the lists of text messages, and it says right to the right of it, this one was deleted. So in an aspect, if it hadn't been overwritten, think about how computers work. You delete something, just like a phone, you delete something, it kind of takes it and moves it into to an area you're not using. And then once, if the phone starts getting full, it starts writing over that deleted stuff. So things that were deleted at some point in time are still there and can be recovered. The actual texts of the text message, the content of the text messages is still there until it's getting written over by the phone.
Scott Eicher, has your company, Precision Cellular Analysis, performed these independent examinations of phones?
Yes, they have. We have a whole group of individuals in our company that just specialize in downloading phones, rebuilding phones that are damaged so that the data can be pulled from the phone, and breaking into the phones if we don't have the password.
What is Cellbrite and how is it used?
It's a program that's been around for a good amount of time, probably 15 years, and each year it gets more updated, but it's a program that actually goes into the phone and allows you to copy the information from the phone onto a different computer. And then you can look at the data and spend time going through it, get all the chronological information from text messages to pictures to Snapchat. So you can get a timeline from all these different areas of the phone.
What about a digital forensics go bag? A portable data collection rig. We saw it in the Nancy Guthrie investigation. It was used when the investigators went into the Guthrie family home. You see it on field operations, intelligence, digital forensics. They extract or they mirror digital info right there on location, a tactical exploitation kit like a forensics go bag.
Yes, those are available, and basically Cellbrite is that also. It's more for phones, but you can have the same type of device for computers and for other devices in the home. But Cellbrite is also a portable device that you can take to a crime scene, take to a house, or go to a individual's residence and do that download. It doesn't have to be done in the office.
According to the family, they have made the phone and their independent experts readily available.
Exactly.
The Jackson County DA's office, as well as our forensic team, and possibly the FBI, we're going to together download and examine the phone. So it's done one time with everybody together, right? This is very common in the law. This is what is supposed to happen. We are waiting for the DA to determine the time, the place, the date. Let us know, and we are going to be there with our forensics team and anybody else, but it's done one time, one examination. We're ready for it to happen.
From our friends at WLOX, that's Liza Park working with Nolan's mother. To you, Susan Hendricks, now somehow it's made to look like the family, Nolan's family, is not cooperating. Let me understand what has happened. So Nolan's family went out of state. I don't know why. And while they were gone, they get a demand letter from the DA's office?
Yeah, that said you have 24 hours. And they were at the NABJ, National Association of Black Journalists Conference in Georgia. They spoke on stage and they said, wait a minute, we're not there. We can't do that. I thought we agreed on July 15th at that meeting that we would come together and do this. And now you're acting like we're not cooperating, but we are. So then they came back now, Nolan's family attorney saying, okay, any day this week, we need 24 hours notice and we'll make it happen. They're not hiding the phone. They just don't trust for the DA to have the phone alone without an independent investigation into the phone, someone who's not biased.
And, Dave Mack, Crime Stories investigative reporter, the family is afraid. Many people have seen injustice in other cases that have nothing to do with them. And I believe they fear evidence will be destroyed or mishandled. And it can never be recaptured. It's very possible it could never be recaptured. I mean, you and I and Joe Scott, you did an incredible recreation in the Ellen Greenberg case, remember? Ellen Greenberg stabbed, I think, 20 plus times, including the back of the head, the back of the neck, the back, actually severing the dura of her spinal cord. And the ruling was suicide. Okay, this is what I'm leading up to. So,
yes, ma'am.
All of the evidence was not documented at the scene. The police this is in Philly, told the apartment manager, sure, clean it up. As a matter of fact, here's a professional cleaner. Call them. They had it professionally cleaned. Bye-bye, evidence, gone. Not only that, the apartment manager took a video of the inside of Ellen's apartment to show basically, look, this is how it was before, this is how it is after. We want to prove we didn't take anything, we didn't steal anything, everything is accounted for. And that's SOP, standard operating procedure. So when they didn't process the crime scene, they went, oh, thank goodness, at least we have the video. They handed the video over to Philly PD and they lost it.
Yeah.
Just let that
There's one more thing. There's one more thing that kind of ties back to. There's one more thing that kind of ties back to Nolan's case here as well, and that's the fact that with Ellen, I don't know if you recall this, the computer made it out of there as well. Do you recall that? And that was never examined, right? And so that's, again, we're left wanting, Nancy,
Ellen's
relative to all of the data.
With all of the info leading up to the time of her murder, ruled suicide, taken off the scene. Now, I'm not claiming that the people that took it, they were family members of the fiance. For all I know, they took it because they didn't want anybody to steal it. And nothing nefarious happened. But the problem is, you lock down a scene. I mean, look what's happened to Nancy Guthrie. A pizza delivery guy came and walked right over the blood evidence to deliver a pizza. Same thing here, Dave Mack. I get why the Nolan Wells family is fearful.
Well, Nancy, this investigation, I'm putting air quotes in there because if you remember early on, it was a drowning,
I'm putting air
and
quotes.
no investigation had even been done. You realize he was missing. It wasn't like it was hours and they went back and he was missing for almost 2 days. And the family early on was not getting information that they felt like they should. All they're saying is, we want to be assured of the chain of custody, how the extraction on this phone is going to be performed, who would have access to the extracted data. That's important. Preservation of the evidence, and then when is this phone going to be returned to us? This is the last thing they have of their son. And those things that I just mentioned, those were the items discussed on July 15th. And there was no follow-up after that until August 12th, when the DA's office, tells the family, well, you got 48 hours to turn the phone over, and they were out of town. So, yeah, there's a lot going on with the most important
So
part
there
of
was
the
no
evidence
way by
that
the
we
time
have.
they find out about the letter that they could comply with the 48-hour requirement. Hi guys, Nancy Grace here. Please join us on Crime Stories and stream it first on Crime Stories with Nancy Grace. Stream it first on Fox 1. I hope to see you there, and thank you, friend. If you know or think you know anything regarding the death of this young man, Nolan Wells, dial 228-769-3063. Repeat, 228-769-3063. We are not letting go of the Nolan Wells investigation. Tonight,
That's right. You heard it. So we got busters in the chat. I've been seeing y'all getting at them, man. Hey, I see you. I see you over there, Timmy, giving them hell. I see you over there. Trina stomping down on their neck. I see y'all. Um, I guess we can go ahead and kind of put the two and two together because you know I did want to let the people speak, but I'm almost kind of like they don't got nothing to do with Nancy Grace, so I might have to come right back. But I mean, I could. Well, I deleted some of them. Your boy thought he was just going all caps. If he tried to jump in on another channel, he'll be gone too. Uh, yeah, I don't know. Nancy is she always been a fence straddler. Let's just call that what it is. Nancy has always been a little straddler of said fence, right? So it's not like we expected her to be a civil rights leader or nothing like that. But I do appreciate her bringing the attention that it needs and keeping the momentum and questions alive. Now, could she be controlled opposition to kind of throw off the stuff? I don't know. We shall see. But we'll soon get to the bottom of everything that's going on. And I'm pretty sure it's going to all come out. Why? Because there's so many moving parts. There's so many different people involved, and they trying to be on code and they trying to look out for each other. But I just don't think that they're going to be able to keep it together because it's too much at stake. Because we are dealing with a murder, right? A potential murder, we should say, or even the manslaughter, accidental, the corpse. They're dealing with the corpse, whatever. All of that's something. It ain't just like a walk in the park, and then we're amplifying it and making it way bigger. So it ain't gonna do nothing but grow and snowball from here. He said Mississippi is gonna do everything in its power to bury the story, and the guilty parties are gonna walk free. That's what it's looking like. And Mr. McDuck Mallard, uh I thought about that, man. I think this is the grand gaslight, fam. I'm not saying that you off. And usually I don't like to think pessimistically about situations. However, if that's what it takes to see what the plot is, because all these random hangings, you know what I'm saying? All these injustices, Rick Child, Carmelo, the two hangings 2 days ago. Old girl found hanging down there at Juneteenth. A couple hangings last week. They're really pushing it. They're really pushing it. Oh, they pushing it. They own it. And it's really gonna just be up to us to not be caught in the fire. It's the grand gaslight. Okay. We gonna go ahead and talk about what the people doing there because I do got a couple videos that I wanted to get with, and did y'all know that they mad at Nancy? I'm talking about them folks is mad at Nancy. Did y'all hear what the governor dude said about Nancy? Check this out.
Get on here with your celebrity status. You want to get on the world stage, act like a fool, drum up violence and chaos and stuff like that for our wonderful little town. Better hope and pray nobody gets hurt because of your rhetoric and your bullshit propaganda.
This Nolan Wells situation is almost another Charlie Kirk situation. Let's look at the variables real quick. Charlie Kirk died right in front of his friends. Nolan Wells died right in front of his friends. We thought, or we still think, that his own friends unalived Charlie Kirk or had something to do with unaliving Charlie Kirk. Well, we see the same thing in this Nolan Wells situation. Another thing that nobody is thinking about is Charlie Kirk was unalived in Utah, which is a mainly Mormon city, which means virtually every single person in Utah is a Mormon, which means they operate on code. They operate as one. So somebody dies that's not a Mormon, an outsider comes in, that person is looked at as an outsider. And if something happens to the outsider, like Charlie Kirk, and they die, nobody says anything. The camera person doesn't say anything. The person doing the paperwork at the court doesn't say anything. The lawyers don't say anything. The judges don't say anything. That is how all of these secrets stay under wraps, because it's somewhat like a cult in Utah. So when you look at the Nolan Wells situation, guess what? Ocean Springs in Mississippi is exactly the same thing, except everybody isn't a Mormon. This cult-like behavior is in a lot of these small towns, and we don't realize it.
And he also changed his tune too about this, because I remember featuring him earlier on, and I had to cut his wisdom off because he was talking some BS like almost with some baby Tatum. Even he done changed his little tune on it though. But he has a point with that on code. We can't keep saying that there was over thousands of people down there and boats was lined up everywhere, but don't nobody know or see nothing. You know what I'm saying? So I gotta give it to him. He do got a point, right? And remember what I was talking the other day about who we don't hear about? Why we don't hear about Wyatt, y'all? Have y'all ever thought about the fact that nobody's talking about Wyatt? Did Wyatt just disappear? Remember, Wyatt was all in it. His name is on the CETO call. Remember the first interviews, like my buddy Wyatt on the boat, and Wyatt in the boat, and Wyatt, and then the boat with Wyatt, you know, right? What happened to that? Shout out to my girl Tanae. She bust that down eloquently, and they divulged a little information about them monitoring the phone.
Another update in the Nolan Wells case, and we need to go back to the beginning and revisit what you thought and what you know about Wyatt. All right. Now, if you guys haven't watched my old videos, what are you really doing? Because they're really good. But let me get to the point, okay? Wyatt had always been a mystery. Through all this, he is not lawyered up. He's been suspiciously quiet, and his grandfather, and his parents are wrapped up in everything. Now, let me just start off by saying, I'm not saying that they did it. But ever since I got this info, I've been looking at them different. Listen, Wyatt, the missing link. What's going on? Now, let me take you through what I'm going to show, right? That somehow Wyatt called once Javon's mom and, of course, Nolan's parents retrieved the phone. We need to revisit that because a lot of you guys were doubting when I said that Wyatt actually called the police, okay? Actually called the police on Nolan's parents as everybody was rolling over to search the boat. What is in the boat? What could be hiding in the boat? And why did he call 911 on people? They were also tracking Nolan's phone. So why they thought he was missing and they knew he had the phone, why they were tracking the phone to find out the parents' next move. But then we have to get into the parents. We have to get into the police department and we have to get into all this information I just found out. All right, you guys, are you ready for the PowerPoint presentation?
We are, but one of my family said they forgot what Wyatt looks like. Well, let me remind y'all what bad suit, county bluebell, bow tie, I won third place in cow snorkeling, Wyatt looked like. Wyatt.
Y'all some damn devils. It ain't no other way.
It ain't no other way, y'all. They devils. You right. I just want to make sure we knew who he's talking about because ain't nobody, his face ain't been on the scene in a minute, and y'all might have forgot about county bluebell, county fair, cheese curd suit, blue bell ribbon, bow tie, Wyatt. Okay? Now we can continue. Just so y'all know who Wyatt is.
Because I do have receipts to back up everything I'm saying. Let me just do a disclaimer. I am not saying I know if what happened to Nolan. I am not blaming anyone. I am saying that the stories are not adding up. People are acting suspicious and we need to address this. Okay, with no further ado, let's get into this. Okay, turn the volume up because this is the conservative ex-officer Django when he was interviewing Warren, Morgan, and Jax. All right, let's get into this. Listen very carefully about what they talk about calling the police on.
I was with Wyatt at the time after we left Jackson's house that night. I was with Wyatt and one person we were with saw that their location was headed towards Wyatt's house.
One of the people we were with, they will not release the name of who that was. One of the people we were with saw that their location that they are talking about is the Nolan's rescue party. Okay. Yeah. Various people between Nolan's parents, Javon's mom and a bunch of people that were literally going crazy trying to find Nolan. This is also 1 a.m. in the morning after they bust into Jack's house, demanded the phone and the car keys. Okay, let me repeat that. One of the people we were with saw that they were headed toward Wyatt's house. What does that tell you? They don't want to give the name, but somebody, Nolan, one of his friends, he was sharing location with. And after they know Nolan was missing, and after they knew that the parents were looking, they looked at the share my location from where Nolan, I'm assuming, was sharing location, and they saw they would head it to Wyatt's house. Now, the funny thing is, right? They didn't say, when they left, they didn't say, oh, we're going to Wyatt's house. They were just tracking their location, and they guessed they were going to Wyatt's house. Why? I believe, and again, that's just my opinion. I'm going to show you the evidence. You let me know. I believe it was a guilty conscience. Okay, let's continue.
And so Wyatt got on the phone with 911 and was like, hey, these people are on the way to my house or already at my house. My mom and my dad are there alone and they know nothing about this.
Okay, let's react. Hey, Wyatt. Instead, first of all, to look at people that were looking for Nolan and freak out and call 911 because they told you when they left Jack's house, where's his stuff on the boat? Where's the boat? Oh, it's parked at my mom and dad's house. and they ran over to search the boat. They ran over to search the boat because it didn't make sense the way they were acting. Everybody was off. Nolan's parents and Javon's mom and whoever was in that search party, baby, they trust their gut. And why wouldn't they look in the boat? Because there might be something that could let them know what happened to Nolan. Let's not forget, everybody was saying, we don't know where Nolan is. We think he might be drunk in someone's house. So instead of calling your parents and saying, hey, Nolan's people are on their way over looking, they want to search the boat. Nolan's people are on the way over. You call 911. Wyatt, the person who's been suspiciously quiet in all this, you call 911 and you say, hey, there's people over to my house. My parents don't know anything about this. Know anything about what? Know anything about what? My parents don't know anything about this. Meet them there and stop them from searching the boat. Why else would you call 911? Why wouldn't you call your parents? Why wouldn't you call... By this time, Bart was here. Why wouldn't you call Nolan's mom? Why wouldn't you do anything? And most importantly, why wouldn't you join in on the search? Because what do you have to hide? There's nothing on your boat, right? Okay, but get into this. This is the boat. This is the boat. Look at these people. Look at all this fish on the boat. But more importantly, look at where these people's ankles and whatnot are hiding. Humans could lay flat in that boat and you would never, ever see them. You would never, ever. The boat is not shallow. It is actually very deep. And you would never, ever, ever see anyone. Now, there is a video surfacing that looks like an arm or something comes up and then drops that down. That has not been verified. And by verified, I mean like, I'm sure Nolan's mom, and there's Ahmad, there's Eric Hart, there's Ben Crump. They're all doing separate things, but they are also, I think Eric Hart is the one doing the investigation. I'm sure Eric Hart is right now having that video analyzed so we can actually get God to honest proof. But again, could someone be laying flat in that boat? Could somebody be hiding or hidden in the boat? Yes, it is a possibility. Now, does anybody think it's odd that Wyatt, whose grandfather is listed as a interested party. He's a invested part, not invested. He's a party the same way Bart was listed, but none of the other kids were in the MDR report. Now keep in mind what you just heard Morgan tell you that Wyatt did. Okay. Now let's go to the MDMR report because Wyatt's name keeps popping up and Wyatt's name keeps getting protected. All right. Wyatt's boat, the Triton, I believe, somebody can lay flat and maybe be hiding in the boat or hidden in the boat. I want to direct you guys' attention to this because I think when you take the words that Wyatt did and the fact that Wyatt really did call the police on Nolan's search party, that was just because it sounds like he was scared ishless that his boat might be searched. And this is the same night, early morning, July 5th, 1 a.m. in the morning, July 5th. This is after they had told on July 4th at 11 p.m., Nolan's missing. I want to direct your attention to this, right? Because it's very important. At approximately 1630 hours, mind you, keep in mind, the MDMR, Miss Christine said in an interview that she felt like she was getting a runaround between the police and the Coast Guard.
Yep.
Warren promised to call the Coast Guard, but it seems like he said he called a buddy who was somehow connected to it. So that was the first lie. You never called Coast Guard. You never made an official report, even though it seemed to me you were trying to lead the mom to believe that you guys were handling this, right?
Right.
Let's go back to that. Before the Coast Guard or the police got involved, the MDMR were the ones taking the lead on this investigation. Nobody else was involved. They were taking the lead out of this, that, and a third. I want to draw your attention to this paragraph in the MDR report. This has been verified as the official report. It's been circling all over. At approximately 1630 hours, that's 4:30, Officer Strickland contacted Wyatt Preon's mom. There we go again with that Wyatt. Jennifer Preon, who stated that Wyatt had already spoken to the Jackson County Sheriff Department investigators earlier in the day, but would cooperate in any way they were needed. Officer Strickland was given verbal consent to view the Garmin GPS on the Wyatt's vessel. Officer Strickland observed the track lines showing the Prion special location on Horn Island to narrow down the search for Nolan Wells. The GPS displayed that the vessel was located near the western tip of Horn Island, right? On July 4th. Officer should now, here's the part that really freaked me out. And it never set right to me. And now I'm beginning to actually see why. This last sentence. Officer Strickland, mind you, keep in mind, prior to that, they had given names of the girl they think Nolan was with, even though they knew it was Katie. How do they know it was Katie? Because they were texting with Katie, okay? I'm not saying they were best friends with Katie, but they knew enough about who the person was with. Trayson even said that he said some slick-ish to Nolan about Katie before he left because he used to mess around with Katie, right? They gave this girl's name that was Lainey. The officer was stopping everywhere and knocking on doors because they had been led to believe by the friends that Nolan was drunk on somebody's couch sleeping it off. So they went and knocked on the doors of everybody that was supposedly there. They knocked on Lainey's door. Hey, they said that you last saw this missing boy. He stayed on the island with you. She looked right at the cop and said, no. I mean, I know who he is. And but the thing is, I have not seen or talked to him in over a year. She also said, I was never on Horn Island. I was on Petite Boise. Tell me why these guys gave a girl that they knew wasn't there, because they said it's a small community. Instead of giving Katie's contact info and Katie's real name, you gave, I believe, a red herring. That's what it looks like to me. Maybe I'm wrong. They knock on the door of other people that the friends had told them were present. Nobody's answering the door. They finally say, you know what? Let me stop at Wyatt's house, okay? The mom was like, he's already cooperated. They're like, yeah, that's great, but that's what the police, and we're MDMR, and we're the ones searching for him right now. So can we look at the GPS, right? She's like, okay, and she lets them in. You guys read it, to look at the GPS. That's when they take down the GPS footage. Look at this, what happened while he was looking at the GPS, guys. While Officer Strickland, who I would say MDMR seemed at this point to be the only people looking for Wyatt, listen to what happened.
I don't know what she's saying.
Officer Strickland was notified at the moment where he was at Wyatt's house taking all that info. Officer Strickland was notified that Jackson County Sheriff's Department was taking the lead on this missing person investigation. The MDMR officer would be in a supporting role for the remainder of the investigation. Now, I don't know if you guys know what supporting roles are, but when you are a supporting role, you do not have a right to collect evidence. You don't have a right to interview witnesses. You are supporting, which means you fall back. You only come up to the front if they ask you for your help. But isn't it interesting that at this point, Nolan's mom said she was getting a runaround. The police and the Coast Guard chose not to look for him. The MDMR, the only people that weren't like this with all those boys' parents, were actually conducting an investigation and getting to the bottom of stuff. They were the ones that got to that stupid fake Katie alibi. They were the one, honestly, that got us this information that the boys still cannot explain with the CETO call. You guys, this information is information that the boys can still not explain away. They said right here, if you look closely, that they were out to sea sinking when they called CETO. This is from the MDR report. This is the actual GPS information they got off of Wyatt's boat. Okay? I think this is what everybody was trying to hide. And this is why they took the MDR case, because the MDMR seemed like they were actually investigating a missing persons threat. It shows that there is a fundamental inconsistency at best and lie at most. I talk about this in my other video. They said that they were sinking. That's impossible. They did not leave Horn Island. They were in the same place in Horn Island, aground, from 11:15 till 4:31 p.m. It's right there in the GPS info that they took from the boats. If you guys will actually remember, the frantic distress call to CETO reporting the boat was taken on water and the bilge pump had failed was placed at approximately 4:00 p.m., shortly before the boat's recorded departure from Horn Island. Now, I said this before in my last video. BART released video and pictures via Officer Kuhn Tatum, right? Showing They were in the middle of the sea. There were 7 people standing on the boat, it looked like. 2 women, 5 guys. Wyatt was sitting there on the phone in the captain's chair. Bart was supposed to be throwing rope and towing them. And that was evidence that sea tow was not needed because Bart was towing them. However, by their own GPS that they tried to bury through the MDMR report, that could not have happened, which is why everybody's asking for the timestamps are those pictures. That could not happen because they called Cito at 4 o'clock. The boat did not move until 4:31 p.m., which means that call to Cito was a fake call, meaning you couldn't been sinking. You didn't need help. You said you were at 31 feet of water where your GPS told us that you were in the same place you had been since you got to Horn Island. It was only till after you left Horn Island at 4:31, 30 minutes after you made that sea tow call, that the boat even moved. Keep in mind, they also say during the recorded dispatch call from the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources archive, the teenager on board, that's Wyatt, stated they were near the west tip of Horn Island and needed immediate help. However, the actual tow was ultimately never dispatched or completed because the dispatcher spoke with the captain, who noted that Jerry, Wyatt's grandfather, and owner of the boat communicated that the teens had managed to address the pump issue and was no longer required. You guys, this distress call was made 30 minutes. On top of that, if you were sinking, why would you go out into the middle of the ocean when there's all these boats and people and friends and family around that could assist you? It doesn't make sense. There is a 30-minute gap that nobody can explain. And I believe nobody can explain it. I think even though the 30-minute gap cannot be explained, the one thing that I do know is, unlike the police and the Coast Guard, let's not forget all those people have dink links to the police. The MDMR on July 5th, early in the morning at 9 a.m. was flying drones trying to find. However, the police and the Coast Guard, and I believe the police, said they didn't have anything to worry. The MDMR were the only people conducting a real investigation. And isn't it funny that once they were looking at Wyatt's boat and taking GPS stuff, all of a sudden they got the call that said, yo, fall back. You don't have the right to continue this investigation. And once that happened, there was nothing else. Again, what does this mean? What does it mean, right? What does it mean? I think it means a lot, but I think the pieces are starting to actually fall in place. And I believe we are starting to see the clear reason why asking what happened to Nolan is the same as attacking the city and the atmosphere we're in, that asking what happened to Nolan, that whole clique is acting like the answer will destroy those boys' lives forever. And they are fighting like hell to make sure we can't find it. You guys, I hope this information wasn't, again, Wyatt called the police to stop the mom's search party for Nolan, called the police so that they could not search the boat. The boat is not shallow. Somebody can easily lay flat in 2 parts of the boat. On top of that, we saw that the MDMR search, which were the only ones seemingly searching for Nolan, got shut down as soon as he showed up at Wyatt's house. Literally, the police said, fall back, we're taking over. I do believe that Wyatt's role in this has been understated. He's been very quiet, but I think they need to come out and answer questions, because what the hell? What the hell? Like, what? Again, if this makes sense to you, let me know in the comments. But yeah. Anyway, y'all, let me know what you think in the comments. I'll try to go live later on.
Now listen, I know, yeah. You know, when we said it's some bullshit, I already know that. But it's not only us saying it though; it's them folks saying it too.
You know, I've been following the Nolan Wells case, and like you, I want justice for Nolan Wells. His family deserves answers.
That's right.
And while we seek justice for Nolan Wells, I believe it is very important that we remain as objective as possible and follow the evidence and be truthful. Everything I do, I want to do in good faith. I want to follow the facts, and I don't want to just construct these theories that force us or force myself to lose any type of credibility. I've seen a bunch of different people talk about this case. I've seen a lot of different storylines, and I've heard a lot of different theories. One of the things that people have had questions about is the CETO call and were they on Horn Island? During that call with Vicky, the CETO operator, Wyatt gave two different sets of coordinates. And in the first set of coordinates, the latitude was kind of hard to hear because he cut out, but the longitude was the 88 degrees west by 46.72. That entire part of that conversation in the CETO call where he gave the first set of coordinates and then the second set of coordinates was about 1 minute and 6 seconds. There was about 58 seconds between each set of coordinates that he gave, and the second set of coordinates were 88 degrees by 46.79 degrees west. So you can see a little bit different than point A here, the first set of coordinates. To be clear, you could hear the latitude and the longitude clearly when he gave the second set of coordinates about 1 minute after the first set. First set of coordinates, point A, this is about where they were in proximity to the island. And point B, the second set of coordinates, this is where they were. Judging by the first set of coordinates, they are roughly about 785 yards from the shoreline, the most western tip of Horn Island. And almost a minute lapsed between the first set of coordinates and the second set of coordinates, and they only traveled 122 yards, putting them about 800 yards away from the island. Again, they're moving away from the island at this time. And of course, this is all allegedly based on the information that they've given, the coordinates that they gave, if all of this is factual. But 122 yards in that minute time means that they were essentially driving that boat at about 3 knots, basically at an idle speed. They were crawling while on the phone with CETO. I mean, at that point, they were less than 5 minutes from the shoreline to Horn Island.
Elijah,
if you're in a sinking boat, why would you continue to move away from the island? Why are you in such a hurry to get away from land if your boat is sinking? According to the research that I've done, from Horn Island to the Fort Bayou boat ramp where they were going is a roughly 20-mile distance, taking 70 to 75 minutes of straight cruising time on a boat that is sinking. Think about that. Sinking boat back to Horn Island or across the Mississippi Sound. Why would you travel away from safety and the land of Horn Island in a sinking boat and continue to travel away from it at minimal 20 to 30 minutes to get the Ocean Springs boat ramp, but you were headed to the Fort Bayou boat ramp, which was 70 to 75 minutes away. Maybe some of you can get there quicker depending on the speed that your boat is going, but it's saying standard cruising speed of 20 to 25 miles an hour, 20 to 30 minutes from Horn Island to the Ocean Springs boat ramp. Almost double that distance to the Fort Bayou boat ramp. Why are you in such a hurry to where drowning at sea sounded better than staying on Horn Island?
What? Drowning at sea sounds better than Horn Island? What? Now what y'all gonna say about him? He lied too? Yeah, you know what? Me too, Pepper. Pepper, I feel you. I hate when people kind of try to announce that they finna leave. I'm leaving. There's too many people in here spreading misinformation. Get your goof ass on there. You ain't gotta announce it. All you had to do is just swipe or just leave. Jeez Louise. Cayenne, the Pepper lady, what's up? You know what I'm talking about? But you know what? Nah, I'm gonna hold a roll call. I'm gonna hold that. But look, they all over here in my chat. But I got a good topic for a live for y'all. You know a live that y'all should be doing right now? The busters and the dweebs in my chat. Oh yeah, this is the time where we talk about what y'all should be talking about. Y'all should be covering topics like this.
This is former Waco attorney Adam Hoffman. For 3 years, Adam raped a 5-year-old boy repeatedly. He was originally charged with continuous sexual abuse of a child, which is a first-degree felony. He should have spent life in prison. Instead, the good old boys did what the good old boys do. His charges were dropped down to misdemeanors, and he was sentenced to 60 days in jail, of which he served 29 days. and was released on good behavior. Thanks to Ken Paxton, he does not have to register as a sex offender. And let's not forget Brock Turner. He raped a woman behind a garbage can and served 90 days in prison. He was released early because the judge understood that boys will be boys. He didn't want his bright future to be marred by a mistake. Now, I know what you're thinking, white men. Why can't this black bitch just leave us alone? Tell you what, I'll leave you alone when you leave kids alone.
Same time
Right.
tomorrow?
So, same time tomorrow?
I'll leave y'all alone. Will y'all leave them kids alone and stay out my chat? Huh? Why y'all folks be letting folks... Look, come on, let me ask y'all a question. Since y'all so talkative, why the leadership and law enforcement and judges in y'all community, why do they let y'all go for stuff like that? Is that in your culture? Huh? Who was she talking? She's talking about y'all. Yo, folks, this is the live that y'all should be having right now. She was actually talking about let her tell you.
White men, this is your daily reminder that you have been, are now, and will always be the problem. And living in a state of denial does not make you any less dangerous. In fact, it makes you more dangerous. The case in which the man drugged and raped 3-year-old Josephina Cunningham to death happened in 2023. And it would have been very easy for you to take the words from my video, drop them into the Google slot, and look it up. Anywho, moving right along.
You hear that? I'll let her tell you. The problem. Y'all. The dweebs in my chat. That's the problem. Just like little thorns in our sides. We over here trying to build and talk about with the people, and here y'all go. I'm going to show the blacks. Look, y'all, folks is all over this. It's not just us, y'all. It's them folks, too. Shawty said Ashley was on the boat.
If you're following the Nolan Wells case, we need to talk. Okay. I think Judge Ashley Cole was on that boat. I do. And here is why I think that. So we now have cleaned up audio and you can hear female voices on the call. Early on in the call, you hear someone say, "Can we cover it up?" And then you hear a female voice say, "I thought of that." I find it weird that another 18, 19, 20-year-old girl would be thinking about a cover-up if someone just passed.
Right.
That seems weird, right? Then, a little bit later in the audio, you hear the female voice say to the boy who's on the call with the dispatcher, you hear a female say, "I'm sinking," as if she's coaching him to tell the dispatcher, tell them we're sinking. Say, "I'm sinking."
Right.
And then she says something about life jackets, shit, Here's why this makes so much sense to me, and this brings so much of the case together for me.
Okay.
Because since I've been following this case, since I've known Nolan Wells' name, I've known Judge Ashley Cole's name because she put herself out there.
Right.
She made a statement about the case and about Nolan Wells' death as a sitting judge on Facebook, which is extremely inappropriate. But I thought that was weird, and I've had my eye on her ever since. Warren is also her stepson. It's not even her blood son. Not that I'm saying you wouldn't care about your stepson, but she seems to be going to like really great lengths to make sure that nothing comes of this, which seems odd. I also think this could be why we have missing pictures, because if it wasn't a fight, if there weren't pictures of a fight, why else would you want to delete pictures if you don't want somebody to be seen there? Maybe. Like if you're a sitting judge that's trying to cover up a crime and you don't necessarily want to be seen where the crime occurred, potentially, right? Also, like, why is everyone being so quiet? That seems weird to me. And we also have rumors that she was cleaning the boat. That hasn't been like officially verified that I know of, but it also hasn't been debunked.
Right.
So why would she be the one cleaning the boat?
Mm-hmm.
Unless she was there.
Right.
I also think that she's a very devilish liar. So the way that she likes to lie is she likes to put the most incriminating thing out in part. So like a little bit of the truth, but there's big incriminating evidence behind it. If you look a little further, for instance, the GPS call, for instance, her Facebook post, for instance, Warren's interview, like she goes and puts something out in front of us and tells us what to think about it.
Now, I just wanted to just a shameless little plug. And just so y'all know, this is the Ashley Cole that she's talking about. And yes,
You're some damn devils.
it ain't no other way. Damn devils. She said it, I didn't. I didn't say it. She said it. I just agreed with her. Okay? So just in case y'all didn't know who she was talking about, because we got to keep these faces with these names. It's been like almost 2 months now. You might forget who we talking about here. But she's talking about Ashley Cole. Okay? I just want to make sure we're correct on that. Go ahead, cook it out. Cook it out, Nina.
Like the TMZ call. I think she doctored the audio of the call and sent it to TMZ so that they would have it early, so that when the full audio comes out, if it were to come out, people could be like, oh yeah, I heard that on TMZ. And they wouldn't necessarily look deeper into it. So that's very sneaky. That's a sophisticated type of lying. So that makes me want to go back and review every little piece of evidence. But I also think maybe like when Warren was describing the fight, could that have actually been potentially what Nolan went through instead of what he says his brother went through? Because again, that's a way to put the lie out in front of us, but it's not, it's true, but it's not really true.
Right.
You have to really look at it and analyze it. Another thing, after reviewing the Cajun Navy, I think all of us who have been following this case, after like probably for the last couple weeks, I know I've been side-eyeing the Cajun Navy like they're acting funny. They're acting like they are trying to spin a particular narrative. And recently on Nancy Grace, they said something about Ben Crump denying cadaver dogs. Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, when I saw this, I'm like, why is he talking to us like we don't have the internet?
Right.
And I've noticed that the Jackson County trolls do this a lot when you see them in comment sections and lives and stuff like that. They act like we don't have access to the internet. Like they were trying to tell us that people drown out at Horn Island all the time, which and there are rip tides. It happens all the time, which if that were true, why are y'all hanging out there?
Right.
You wouldn't be just casually hanging out there all the time if people were dying there all the time. That makes no sense. But we also have access to the internet. So I look it up and there's literally been 2 deaths in the last forever since a hurricane in 1906.
What?
And then there's been 2 other deaths that were in 2013 and 2025. Not rip currents. Lots of witnesses. So it's like their own. And then, anyways, I have so many thoughts, but the way that Judge Ashley likes to work, she allows you to have access to some of the truth so that I don't know. It's like that weird, like they have to tell you what they're doing kind of a thing. Almost like that. Anyways, if you're following the Nolan Wells case, we need to talk. Okay. I think Judge Ashley Cole was on.
Now, another thing, am I back? I'm back. Yeah. Another thing I found that was super hella funny is how they still on the black lady. Did y'all know they still on the black lady that did the audio?
I think it's hilarious how no matter how many facts I post surrounding this case, no matter how many videos I share of the adults involved speaking for themselves, and no matter how closely I stick to their own words, I'm still met with weightless threats, harassment, racist attacks, and passive-aggressive slugs about our Gibson goals. So let me clear something up again, and it's probably going to be my last time. I did not isolate that audio for clout, clicks, views, fame, or money. I had absolutely no idea it would go viral.
Right.
I isolated the audio because I was concerned about what I thought I heard in the background of that call. And before I ever posted it, Ash and I discussed the possibility of confirmation bias because I'm fully aware that when you think you hear something, your brain can sometimes influence what you continue to hear.
Exactly.
I'm well aware of that.
Yep.
But that is exactly why I cleaned and isolated the audio to begin with, because I wanted clarity. I wanted to know if I was tripping.
And you wasn't.
So when I got that clarity, I was shocked, like a lot of others who were shocked before I even did it. So I posted my interpretation of what I heard and asked everybody else to listen for themselves and come to their own conclusions. I didn't tell anybody what they had to hear.
Nope.
And to my surprise, tens of thousands of people said they already heard the same things before I ever isolated it.
Yep.
Then came the lies about me. People started claiming I created the audio, that I added 20 extra seconds somehow, that I manipulated it, that I used AI. I must have knew these people's voices and just added their voices and these names.
Yeah.
I did not. I isolated the channels and removed the music from the caller side so the background noise, voices, and commotion could be heard more clearly. I did not use any AI or any AI-based product to do it. My entire purpose was to better hear what was already present in the audio and determine whether I thought I heard was actually there.
Tell them,
That's
sis.
it. Then came the cyber attacks, racist trolls, harassment, threats, people attempting to discredit me personally instead of actually addressing the actual questions surrounding this case. But on the flip side, there were people who genuinely wanted to support Ash and me. And then someone online actually created a GoFundMe on our behalf, and then that same night it was denied. And after people continued asking how they could support us, Ash created the Give Send Go. That is why it exists. It was not created to capitalize off of Nolan Wells or his family. It was literally created because people insisted on supporting us after seeing what we were dealing with. Our lives have changed drastically. Like, we've lost work opportunities and dealt with harassment and attacks because we continue asking questions and seeking answers. So at this point, we also have to consider our personal safety and security. But one thing that has not changed, we want to know what happened to Nolan Wells. We want answers. We want justice for Nolan. So the threats, the intimidation, racism, scare tactics don't silence us. If anything, they strengthen our determination to keep asking questions and following the facts wherever they lead. We will not be intimidated into silence, period. And to every single person who has donated, supported us, defended us, shared information, or simply encouraged us to keep going, thank you, thank you, thank you. We appreciate you more than you know. But everybody else, I need y'all to understand something clearly.
Yeah.
We are not giving up.
Straight up.
Not today.
Not tomorrow.
Not tomorrow. Not anytime soon. So if our continued pursuit of answers bothers you, get used to it.
Straight like that. I say it straight like that. Yeah. Yeah. I seen this conversation with Willie D speaking about the connections, and the connections is deep. We can't deny that.
What is the connection? Why is Elizabeth in all of this? Well, Elizabeth, besides being Bart's mother, Elizabeth was appointed to the Mississippi State Board of Health by, guess who? Ding, 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 ding. Governor Tate Reeves. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we have a break in the case. I think we have something here that the civil rights attorneys and the prosecutor can latch on to. And I think that the people of America want to know the truth. The people of America want to know, why was the governor so quick to call this no foul play. We don't suspect foul play. Why was the governor so quick to say that? That is because the governor has a relationship, a personal relationship with the Edmondsons. Yeah, and the Edmondsons are prominent residents of Ocean Springs, Mississippi. Now, just because somebody is friends with somebody who's accused or who is the subject of a murder investigation does not make them automatically guilty. Now, what is the connection? Why is Elizabeth in all of this? Well, Elizabeth, besides being Bart's mother, Elizabeth was appointed to the Mississippi State.
You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. It's crazy out here. Talking about the connections, but then you gotta kind of think about who got the juice. You know what I'm saying? To even pull something off like that, or to make it pop off like that. I caught another conversation with Willie D, and he was speaking, and just because I scour y'all, you know what I'm saying, like to put it all together to bring it to y'all. I seen him having another conversation about the connections, and he wasn't talking about the connections, but his guest was, which digs a little further into what he was talking about. Check this out.
When I think about him, the first thing that comes to my mind is fuck them.
Just think about what that does to all the relationships. You know, if your son is a killer, or if your son takes someone's life, whether it was accidentally or not, you didn't accidentally put him in a chokehold if that's what you did, or, you know, so I do believe that if that's the case, then who stands to lose the most in all of this? And then also, who has the power and the juice to sway other people to keep this quiet, to put fear in them, maybe even have dirt on some of these other families? So, but if you're a family with power and you've got ties to a governor, then you might know some things. You know, like a lot of times people thought the Murdaugh trials in South Carolina, there's no way, right? It could be that deeply tied and webbed together, man. And they freaking unraveled that thing so bad. So to say that like these small towns, you know, especially with, you know, affluent parents and affluential people, they definitely, it's possible, you know. The good old boy system is alive and well, and we need to show that their lives are just as valuable as the lives of the doctor's kids, you know, as the lives of the family that's friends with the governor, because they are, their lives are just as important. And the way they went after her at work and tried to go after her medical license and everything, it just shows the reality of the society that we live in.
Come on,
and,
man.
you know, ever since I've started doing this work, how much hate I've caught in my own community, how much backlash that I've got, how much people have tried to come after me or hate and death threats. And it's just like, I get it, because it's part of the territory of me speaking out. And when I put myself in that position, but that's just genuinely what happens.
It takes an uncivilized mutt to target a grieving family,
right,
who is totally innocent.
Yeah.
In everything. They, you know, it's just a grieving family, and you're mad because they're asking questions,
right?
Because they want justice. They want to find out what happened to their child, and that triggers you. So you go in and you attack them.
Exactly.
It takes an uncivilized mutt.
It takes a special type of, it's a horrible, unempathetic person.
Equally, it takes an uncivilized mutt to attack you, a person who is just simply asking questions and seeking justice and want to live in a fair and impartial society. That it takes an uncivilized mutt to take exception to that. So I think you should put it in perspective when you think about these people. You know, in my opinion, when I think about them, the first thing that comes to my mind is fuck them. I don't give a damn about none of them.
Straight up Willie D. I couldn't agree more, because they be all in your chat. You know what? I'm finna give y'all an update that's really gonna get you mad. Did y'all hold on? I'm finna give them an update that's really gonna get them mad, y'all. Listen to this.
More day in the wake up for Carmelo Anthony's hearing. Let's be optimistic. If you are going, please be safe. Please be careful. We know that there's a lot of evil in this world.
Yep.
So, yeah. Be the complete opposite of everything that they think we are, which I already know that you guys will be. If I was not 2 weeks post-op, I would absolutely have been there, but that is my situation, unfortunately. But I will keep you guys updated with the news. And just like I said, be safe. That is the most important thing. I appreciate all of you guys. I'm sure the family does as well for showing up to support. We have dealt with a lot of racism and a lot of unnecessary hate in our comments just for supporting who we support. We don't care who they support and what they don't. So, like I said, just please be safe. Please be careful. Stay optimistic. Stay prayerful. And we'll see how this goes. Love you guys. Well, y'all.
Oh yeah, that's right. Carmelo got that new trial. You know I'm gonna be covering that here on the Keep It P podcast. You already know I'm gonna be all over that too as well. Yes, indeed, and that's gonna get them even madder in the chat, and I don't give a good hot damn. So whatever. I knew that was gonna piss you off too. Yep, Carmelo's getting another spin at it, people, because they did the boy wrong. Why he getting another spin if they didn't do nothing wrong? Huh? Huh? And speaking about, if we speaking about doing wrong, right? Let's talk a little bit more about them boys in that interview.
Talk about Warren Hudson's video. A lawyer, I'm gonna let you hear it. He's explaining how every time Warren makes statements, he's actually helping law enforcement. This could be a situation where law enforcement this could take months, guys, actually to make an arrest. Or if something, like I said, if someone did something to Nolan, more than likely it's going to take a while before they make arrests. There's too many moving parts here, if that's the case. So I just wanted to say that if someone did something to Nolan, it's going to be a while. But let them keep talking, because their statements is going to do them in. Listen to this.
He's doing is he is making statements. He is making specific statements about specific things that happen. I'm talking particularly here about his latest statement of, we tried to get Nolan to get on the boat. We begged him to get on the boat. He wouldn't get on the boat. It's things like this. You are locking yourself down to specific facts. And what law enforcement does from that point is they either verify or disprove those specific facts. And once you start poking holes in somebody's story, what that leads to is statements of, oh, well, that's not what I meant. What I meant was this. You make another statement, they poke holes in that, and so on and so on. Classic law enforcement behavior, but this Warren Hudson guy is doing it for them. The cops just have to sit back and watch.
So you heard that. Their statements ultimately will pretty much do them in if they're lying. For me, I've already poked holes in their story. Just me personally.
Everybody has, bro.
What the professionals are doing.
Right.
There will be something going on if the FBI is involved. I'm under the impression that they are, because they want the phone. They want to be the ones to analyze the phone. So we're going to see. I know a lot of people even don't trust them, but in this situation, you're going to need external help. You're going to need external people to come in for this to be a thorough investigation. In my opinion, it's just too many people in Ocean Springs that are in bed with each other.
Right.
And what do I mean by that? Too many people know each other. So I think it has to be somebody to come along to monitor everything. But let me know what you think about what the lawyer said, and I will leave the link to where you can find that. All right.
Thanks, brother, for spitting that down. That's the Max Vault. I always tap in with my brother for some sound good advice. I appreciate him. I gotta tap in with the attorney Troutman. She always come with the facts, and she come in with the facts on this phone just to dispel all this garbage and nonsense.
Nolan Wells' phone still hasn't had the joint forensic examination his family's attorneys say they agreed to nearly a month ago. So what's the holdup? Because this isn't just about getting into a phone. I think people are asking the wrong questions. It's about who examines it, how they examine it, and preserving the integrity of whatever evidence that they recover. So, hey, y'all, Yolanda here. And listen, I'm popping in for this legal brief in between court because how digital evidence can be just as important as what investigators actually find. So, if you're following the Nolan Wells case, share this with someone else who's following it. So, here's what we know. Nolan's family has his physical phone. Their attorneys say they reached an agreement with prosecutors for a joint forensic examination. But according to the family's attorneys, that still hasn't happened. Now, listen, when I say forensically examine, I don't mean that somebody unlocks the phone, picks it up, and starts scrolling. That's not what I mean. A forensic examination is specifically designed to extract and preserve available data, but also documenting how the evidence was handled and how it was recovered. So that brings us to this concept that we call chain of custody, right? Think of chain of custody as a paper trail for the evidence. Who had it? When did they have it? And what happened to it along the way, right? So that's particularly interesting here because we know that Nolan's phone wasn't in law enforcement custody from the beginning. We know that. We know that it was in somebody else's possession before it was eventually returned to the family. That does not necessarily mean that anybody did anything improper. But if this phone eventually becomes evidence in a criminal case, its history most certainly will matter. And to me, that helps explain why the family's attorneys want their experts involved in the forensic examination. It doesn't mean, y'all, that law enforcement couldn't properly examine the phone themselves. But what it does mean that the family wants a joint process. I get that. So now remember, a physical phone is a source of digital evidence. It's not the only source because I told y'all in a prior legal brief that depending on what investigators are looking for and the legal process with that, relevant information could potentially exist in a number of places. So I don't want y'all to make this leap. Don't say that the phone hasn't had because they haven't had the forensic examination, investigators have no digital evidence. We just don't know that. And investigators don't necessarily have to wait for an arrest or criminal charges to seek digital evidence through the appropriate legal process. Right. So the real question isn't simply why hasn't someone searched Nolan's phone? It's how will it be forensically examined and who will participate? Because listen, getting into the phone isn't the goal. Recovering reliable evidence is. So if you learn something, share this legal brief with someone else who's following the Nolan Wells case, and follow at Attorney Trotman and All Things Legal for You for more. And keep saying Nolan Wells' name and keep following the evidence and not speculation.
Boom. Yes. Yeah, she spit. She ate right there. Right? And so that's that false narrative that they try to make around this phone thing. I don't know if y'all noticed this, but they try to create the false narrative around the phone, right? And I gotta go back to my girl T because she broke it down on the phone side of the game, right? Hold on. Hold on. I hope this ain't this. The volumes.
And this time I want to talk about the cell phone and that stupid less than 48 hour. Actually, they gave them 1.5 business days to comply and turn over Nolan's phone. Now, mind you, there's no criminal investigation. There's no subpoena. They agreed to a joint investigation, but all of a sudden it seems like they're pushing this weird media narrative that seems like it is lock and step, one band, one sound with the boys attorney, and all of right-wing conservative radio trying to make it seem like, oh, as usual, these black parents aren't cooperating with the police. They're not cooperating with this. And I remember saying they would be a goddamn fool to do it, right? Well, listen, for the people that don't want to listen to reason, I wanted to share this clip for you. This is directly from It's Just Me Twin on TikTok. She is sharing a former judge from Mississippi says Nolan Wells' mom should not turn over the phone to Mississippi, and they should only examine it jointly. This is Judge Carlos Moore. Now, listen, first of all, Miss Christine, no fool. Second of all, Eric Hartz, Ahmed, and Ben Crump are looking like, man, whatever, right? I'm going give you my opinion afterwards on where I think this is going. But for now, let's listen to the judge, because so many people want to be like, oh, that's in the past, Mississippi. He is going to outline exactly the way Mississippi works, exactly the way they do a cover up, and why he sees this moving in real time. Let's go. All right. Turn your volume up.
I'm going to play nice. I told you, I know these folks, and I know how they operate. Don't let their kindness, don't let them kill you with kindness. We are going to keep our feet on their necks. We're going to keep our feet on their necks. We're going to keep applying pressure, because it's with pressure brings results. Pressure bursts pipes. The FBI, we expected them to do their jobs. We know that they work under a Justice Department now that leaves a lot to be desired. It's now run by an acting attorney general that used to be Trump's personal lawyer. I believe he was up for confirmation today. I hadn't had time to decipher if he's been confirmed or not. So I would hope, back in the day, the FBI was not politicized. They did their jobs as professionals, regardless of what party was in power in the White House.
Well, I would say that's not true, because we know that the FBI was made strictly to go after Black people. So, I mean, and at that, the FBI is always going to be jaded for me, especially with cross-dressing J. Edgar Hoover. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're always going to get me. But she said what I needed her to say on the cell phone, so that was cool. But everybody's chewing up this body language, and now they got a body language expert speaking out on the interview.
I'm here with a Nolan Xavier Wells update, and I thought this was very interesting. There is a body language expert, Tracy, who she's riding her bike, but she is analyzing the footage of the interviews by Officer Race Tatum, and it's nice to hear from an expert. Check out what she says.
I mean, we loved him dearly. Yeah, Nolan was like a brother to us.
First thing here is that the reason I like this clip so much is that it's the kind of clip that we don't get a lot, because we don't have to look at the person talking all the time. We actually get the true reactions to the comment, and that's really the most important information if you want to know how people are really responding to any kind of situation, because they're going to feel more free and open, and like the spotlight's not on them, and so you're going to see more reactions at that point. Now, guy number one says we loved him dearly, and then he doesn't know what else to say. He looks to who I'm going to call guy number two for support, and after he gets this backup, we see him smile a little bit, and you wouldn't think that there should be a smile at that point. Is it a little bit of relief? Possibly, but there's something else going on here. Because when he thinks the camera's off him, at least when the spotlight is off him there, when he's not speaking, we see his mouth go to the side, and that's that oops sign there. That's the oops gesture. So he knows he screwed up, and he's really stressed about it, because we see his tongue roll around the inside of his mouth, and that is the sign of I got away with something. And his lips go really, really tight, so he's holding in some information there. All right, let's move on to who I'm going to call guy number three. Now, as he's listening there, we see him do some eye blocking when the concept of him being like a brother comes up. Okay, so his eyes close for just a little bit longer, so there's something there he doesn't want to see. He's either holding information out or holding it in. He shakes his head no, and it's small. Okay, so I think that's the negativity of the situation. He might have a little bit of sorrow going on there too. Of the two guys that we talked about here, he's the one that's the most congruent. So I'm especially suspect about that first guy.
That's pretty interesting, because I think we all agree that something is off about their body language. You don't even have to be an expert to feel that something feels off. There's something that doesn't feel authentic. In my opinion, allegedly. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments.
Secret Sam. Secret Sam I am. Yeah, you know the thing about it is, I see that's why I be tapping in with Sam because he get videos of his timeline that we would never see. I never would have seen that lady's video. Now there was something fishy with the boat thing that I never tapped in with. I don't know if y'all know about the little boat issue. Everybody talking about how Cuz could have fitted on the boat.
Now, I want you to look at this diagram carefully. We're talking about a 24-foot Triton, and what matters here is understand that what you see standing on the deck is not the entirety of the boat. This illustration separates the potential underdeck areas by color. Blue represents the boat storage area. That's the forward section of the vessel underneath the deck towards the nose of the boat. Depending on the exact Triton model, this area can contain enclosed storage access through deck hatches. Red represents the large central underdeck area. This is underneath the forward and middle portion of the deck. In this illustration, it's the largest enclosed area shown, but I want to be extremely clear. The red figure is there to illustrate scale and possibility. It's not evidence that Nolan was inside that compartment. Green represents the area underneath and around the center console and leaning post section. On boats of this type, portions of this area may be occupied by things such as the fuel tank, plumbing, wiring, storage, or other structural components. The exact configuration depends on the specific model. And finally, the purple represents the aft compartment, the rear of the boat near the transom and outboard motor. That area commonly contains batteries, electrical equipment, pumps, rigging, or storage. And that's why the exact boat matters. When somebody argues if Nolan had been on that boat, everybody would have seen him lying on the floor. My question is much more specific. Which floor, which compartment, which hatch, and was every accessible space on this particular 24-foot Triton documented and searched? This diagram doesn't prove that Nolan was underneath the deck. It shouldn't be presented as proof. What it does illustrate is why looking at a photograph of people standing above deck cannot by itself tell us what was or wasn't inside every enclosed portion of that vessel. So, I don't want speculation. I want the exact Triton model. I want its factory layout. I want the measurements of those compartments. And I want to know which compartments investigators actually inspected. Because once we have those facts, we don't have to guess. This is Felicia Free Press Action Network. You know what we do. We check power now, people. Stay tuned. Now, I want you to look at this diagram carefully.
Yeah.
24-foot Triton. And what matters here.
Man, I'm just saying. Man, when you put stuff out on the internet, when people got see, this is one thing that was not going on back in the day. There was no internet, there was no file checking. You can get the part numbers, you could get the make and model, you could really get down to the knit. Like the nitty knit on the internet. They didn't expect all of this. They should have just shut up. They should have just shut up. I think they would have benefited a great deal from just being silent on this one. I think they given us too many alley-oops with the whoops. So I don't know if y'all know, but the DA is no longer considering this accidental drowning. It's been upgraded. I don't know if y'all knew this, but shout out to my man Trent Out Loud. Go subscribe to him because I follow my mans.
Insiders tell me the Mississippi DA is no longer investigating an accidental drowning and is finally investigating a crime.
If it's a criminal investigation and they believe that they can find evidence of a crime, if they had access to his phone, I could see them getting a warrant to extract his phone. But if you're looking at a potential drowning and there is no criminal element involved, if they haven't gotten a phone yet, it's because they don't need the phone and they don't want the phone. It's not there of evidentiary value if there is no suspect here.
Finally, for once, former Officer Tatum is right. Shockingly, this case is no longer about Cito calls and pictures, and now it's all about Nolan Wells' cell phone. You'll see here a letter from Attorney Benjamin Crump to the Mississippi DA saying, y'all want Nolan's phone? Well, honor the agreement that we had July the 15th so we could duly go over his phone with our forensic investigators along with yours. And here's another letter that accompanied Benjamin Crump's lawyer from Nolan Wells' estate lawyers saying the exact same thing. Y'all want the phone? No problem. We are going to look at it together, and we're available this Tuesday to Friday. Just let us know anytime you are. We just need 12 hours in advance. Oh, and by the way, Dr. Roger Mitchell, our pathologist that is conducting the second autopsy, yeah, he's available this week too. You want to know why? Because we still want to examine Nolan's throat.
Right.
And just because the DA is now investigating a crime, don't think that I trust her. I have a lot more details on the grand jury being 30 to 60 days away. I wonder why. Also, the autopsy was completed 3 weeks ago. And also, maybe y'all are looking to point the finger at somebody else. Somebody who's not been represented by Attorney Edwards and attorney Lawyer Cox, and who hasn't appeared on former Officer Tatum's show. I wonder who it is. Remember the Cito call? Damn it. Yeah, y'all fill in the rest. Or click the link in bio for more.
Yeah, shout out to my man Trent Out Loud for sure. Now what I found funny is on my scour, right? Because I gotta put this all together for y'all. That phone must be a big deal because listen to your boy. Now you gotta listen to them folks now, and they might not necessarily. He's a legal analyst and whatever, right? But through some of his videos, you can kind of tell how he is leaning. Listen to what he got to say about this phone real quick.
In Nolan Wells, if you haven't heard about the phone issue, well, then you're way behind. I mean, I know I was all the way back in July. Mr. Crump and the team for the family indicated that they were going to give Nolan's phone to law enforcement so that they could work forensically on it because they had made an allegation that they got the phone, that is the mother, I believe it was, and the sister, had gone through the phone and were deleted materials. This became a vital part of this whole narrative that something nefarious happened to Nolan. But here we are. A month later, after that supposed agreement, and 6 weeks, I believe, close to, after the death of the young man, and law enforcement still doesn't have this crucial piece of evidence that any law enforcement agency would be one of the number one things you want is to get the victim's phone. It hasn't been turned over. Now, I don't care like who's the reason or the fault of it or whatever, but I can only tell you from 30 years as a lawyer and as a homicide prosecutor and somebody who ran a police agency, I have never, ever heard a family being able to have the power to withhold the phone. But I think it tells me something very important. Listen up.
Nah, that's where he slipped up. Because what you mean? How is the family got the power to hold the phone when you can do subpoenas and all? See, okay, let me let him go.
I think it tells me that maybe the medical examiner has indicated that there is no suspicious cause of death or foul play, and that there is no homicide here, because if there was, prosecutors would have gotten a warrant for that phone. There is no doubt in my mind, but you can't get a warrant unless you have probable cause that a crime was committed. That's part one. And the only other way for law enforcement to get the phone is through a grand jury subpoena. I've mentioned this before in other videos. Please refer to them before you start negatively commenting. But the grand jury subpoena only allows you to get the phone. It doesn't necessarily allow you to get the information and data on the phone. That's usually what a CDW, communication data warrant, allows you to do, which again, if you don't have probable cause that a crime is committed, you're not able to get. Bing, bing, bing. Think here what I said earlier in previous videos. No arrest has been made, and there could be arrest if there was probable cause to believe somebody did something. It's going into the grand jury, and now they don't have a warrant potentially. That's the only thing I can think of, because that's a number one basic thing that you would do, because maybe they can't establish to a judge there's probable cause to show that there would be evidence of a crime on that phone. So now the family is in complete possession of what happens or doesn't happen to that phone, and they are not providing it to law enforcement. So we've discussed 2 of 3 ways you can get the phone. Through a warrant, no probable cause, can't get a warrant. Grand jury subpoena, which they probably didn't do because they're trying to play nice, the prosecutors in the sandbox with the family, who a month later have not produced the phone. And the third is through consent, which obviously is not happening. This is a big tell. Now, I've got a lot more on my long-form video on YouTube. Please see it before you're commenting on things that you really don't have a lot of experience.
Yeah, so I see where his little game is. They're people like him and like Officer Tatum, they're kind of really good at what they do, right? Like, cause like legally from a law enforcement standpoint, he was real careful with the things that he said, but he did use his knowledge to paint a certain narrative. It's the narrative. I but y'all gotta hear it from the other side though. That's why I be playing these videos, right? Like, how is it? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. How is his parents holding something? That's the craziest thing right there. You just gotta listen to him talk. But if you understand the yin and the yang, then you already know that's what they're supposed to do, man. They're supposed to be doing exactly what they're doing. That's what they're supposed to be doing. It's not going to be any other way, or is it another way? And that's a great segue to this. I found this online. It's really short, but I did want y'all to just take a look at it real quick. Just I thought it was interesting.
So peaceful out here. Just like you.
Can we cover this up?
What have you done?
He's not moving. Yes, boat towing. We need help.
What's your emergency, sir?
Is he dead? Cut him up. Hogan, don't die. Mark, what have you done?
What would happen if it was this way? Close your eyes, YT people, and think if everyone was playing crazy about not knowing what happened to your child. Let's talk about it.
I thought that was pretty. So that's how you're supposed to use AI. I like that. As a matter of fact, I'll play it again for y'all. It says this is some real good AI right here.
So peaceful out here.
Just like you. Can we cover this up?
What have you done?
He's not moving. Yes, boat towing. We need help.
What's your emergency, sir?
Is he dead? Cut him up. Hogan, don't die. Mark, what have you done?
What would happen if it was this way? Close your eyes, YT people, and think about.
That's pretty dope. Whoever did that, that's pretty dope. That's how you're supposed to use AI, baby. That's how AI is supposed to go right there. You know what I'm talking about? Look, it's all type of folks cutting and chop sueying every little angle and bit of that interview. My man says getting out of hand.
There's a discrepancy there, and Officer Tatum noticed it, so he asks.
Well, I texted Javon, and I was like, hey, can you send me Miss Christine's number? I asked her if she had heard from Nolan. She said no. And I said, all right, well, don't freak out. I'm going to call the Coast Guard.
So what's your intent in calling the Coast Guard, right? Because right now, Nolan could be with a chick. He could be with somebody else.
Right.
He could have gone back with somebody else. What made you concerned enough that you felt like you had to call the Coast Guard?
Well, I mean, like I said, my friends and I have been on the water our whole life. Stuff happens. It's a fun place to be, but it's also a very, very dangerous place to be if you're not handling it right. And Nolan, so I hadn't heard from him, and obviously I'm thinking I'd way rather be safe than sorry.
Officer Tatum notices the exact same thing that I just pointed out. Because Warren's been casual about this island. You know, we all go out there, sometimes we come back on different boats. It's not unusual. But all of a sudden, you haven't heard back from this guy in a couple of hours. His phone isn't on him. You guys have it. So it's reasonable that he's out there hanging out. There's a girl that he's interested in. There's some other people. If it's normal for people to go out there and come back with someone else, why would you call the Coast Guard? And in response to this question, we see a small behavioral cluster of stress from Warren. It's not huge. It's not the biggest one we've ever seen on the channel by far, but it's enough, especially for a guy who is usually pretty calm, pretty stoic, and unemotional. So the first thing we see is a lip lick. He licks his lips as he's about to answer that question. This is not part of his baseline. Now, a lip lick is sometimes just a lip lick. It happens to everyone, even if it's not part of our baseline. This is why we want clusters. We want to see numerous things at the same time. Because a lip lick also, the research has shown, is very connected to stress, because when we're stressed, the lips dry out and we lick them. It's also very consistent with grooming. These are gestures that we do to fix our appearance when we're self-conscious. So at the very least, it indicates some kind of self-consciousness. There's also this little bit of a jitter in his left leg. If you look at his left leg, now he does often jitter that leg when he's talking, when he's going through something, often rhythmically with what he's saying. But here it looks like this little bit of a nervous energy jitter. But we also see something that has a lot of different words in behavioral analysis. Some people put it together with non-answer statements. Some people put it together with hesitation. I call it fluff. This is all these little unnecessary words before we get to an answer. So he says, well, like I said, and he thinks about it. Me and my friends have been on the water our whole lives. So it takes him a little bit of unimportant stuff to get to an actual answer. This is why. Now again, does stress in response to a question mean let's lock him up, 25 to life? Of course not. It just indicates that there's a bit of stress around this. He's just saying, I'd rather be safe than sorry. I think there might be a little bit more to that. Did they notice something in Nolan's behavior? Was there a reason to be concerned more than he's letting on? I mean, presumably there were dozens of people still out on that island that he hadn't heard from that day, right? Now, let's dial things back a little bit because I know how the internet gets. None of what I just said means that I believe that this guy's this psychopathic murderer. Right. That is a massive jump to take based on a couple of little discrepancies and curiosities. It's normal to talk about these things, try to figure it out, apply critical thinking, but nowadays it seems like people take small clues, wedge it into their conclusions, and jump to the worst case scenarios. There are people out there with unreasonable amounts of confidence, and these 18-year-old kids are getting death threats, and on the other hand, Nolan's mom is getting death threats.
But somebody didn't die? Okay, we definitely see where your bread's buttered, buddy. You had a good point, but now you had to interject with your your irrelevancy. I can't give you no claps for that, bro. You went off the deep end. But but again, I be playing both sides though, so y'all can hear what's going on over there. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah, if it was a simple drowning, they would have released the lungs and the neck a month ago. That's what I'm saying. We already know that. My proud FBA. This is the grand gaslight, fam. This is the gaslight of the century. Straight up. This in combination with other things they trying to get at us. It is 6:45. I'm finna jump off of this one. I want to do another one though. So you know how I do. For all the new people here, I need you to go ahead. I got 4 words for you. I need you to go ahead and subscribe for the vibes, like for the spike and the algorithm, comment your vomit, share if you care about getting Black empowerment everywhere. Please do that on the platforms that we are on, Jones. And just to bring it all the way home, I got love, peace, blessings, and aloha. I'm out the Doha for Shoha. Yeah, all